at Gobster, and I have an early childhood education degree through ASU. I established a nonprofit called Helping Raise Humanity that focuses on presenting education as early as infancy. So the idea is just to get education into childcare opportunities and to present educational foundations and curriculums as early as possible.
Cool. That's great. And then how did you decide to open your own childcare program?
I knew right away that my passion was going to be working with littles, and it's not as simple as, let me start over and say this. So I started my program knowing that the goal was going to be an educational foundation. However, the demands of families fit more within childcare requirements. So the idea of getting education into a family structure really matched well with establishing it as childcare and an opportunity for families to be able to leave their kids in care all day long so that they could go to work.
Cool. And so where are you in the process of opening a child care program, and how has that process been?
So right now I am tiny toddler steps away from becoming licensed. I have to get so I have one form to get signed by the fire department, and I have some fire alarms that need to be wired in by an electrician. And as soon as that is established, I can have the fire marshal back out, and everything else has been cleared and established for licensing requirements. So it should be fairly simple from here. The process of becoming licensed has been both rewarding and challenging. While identifying families' needs for home care and navigating the rigorous expectations of licensing, it's proven more demanding than I initially expected. The time constraints, the substantial financial investments were beyond what I initially anticipated, and the difficulty of locating the qualified professionals to help assist with specific tasks, such as wiring up fire alarms, has presented significant hurdles along the way.
And so around how long have you been working on the process?
It's been over 6 months. So I initially submitted my application. I think it's been as many as 7.5 months ago. So I did not expect the process to take this long. Thankfully, they hold on to all of the paperwork throughout the process, but they do expect you to reapply at a 6-month mark. So I'll have to resubmit an initial application along with all the extra documentation and paperwork. So.
Okay. And then, do you know, are you located in an area with a lot of other childcare options, or is it like a childcare desert?
It's pretty much a childcare desert. That's a good way to put it. There was an established childcare facility that was funded by the hospital inside of Maryville, which is only about 30 minutes away from where I live. It closed down right after COVID. And so the demand for childcare increased drastically right off the bat. Since then, I've known of a lot of home care providers, but few to none who were licensed. So the idea of becoming licensed was a real strong initiative or a real strong motivation for me, and really just allowing myself to supply the need for more families.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you're doing that. And so how many kids will your facility be able to accommodate?
My facility will be licensed for 10.
Okay.
As many as 2 under the age of 2, or if I have more than 2 2-year-olds, then it's only 4 with a total of 8 kids. So the ratios kind of depend on the age range of the children. but as many as 10 with two-year-olds.
Okay, great. And so shifting gears a bit, how did you hear about Wonderschool?
I believe it was actually a cold call. I remember getting a phone call amongst I remember getting a phone call amongst the chaos of childcare, and they asked if I had a few minutes to talk. I said I had 5. And they started explaining how they were willing to help and support with the licensing process. Um, they may have gotten my information from the initial orientation video that's required for licensing. I remember when I started researching what it would take to become licensed, I had watched that initial video and gone through the process of learning the expectations. So after that, I had kind of put it aside because it was going to be more than I was able or willing to put into the process at that time. So I received the phone call, and they suggested that there were incentives to help me along the way to prioritize my time and focus support in getting all the documentation completed. Um, and so it was a real motivator to step back into the process, look into things again, and decide that it was something I was able to work towards.
Okay, that's great. And what have you used Wonderschool? Like what aspects of Wonderschool have you used so far?
So I got into Wonderschool after already starting the documentation process for licensing. And what Wonderschool has helped to do was incentivize monetary incentive, sorry, the monetary incentives of Wonderschool were able to help me prioritize the time it was taking to finish all of the documents, submit everything, and continue to work towards the requirements. So Wonderschool has been an absolute game changer in my willingness to put in the time and effort after childcare hours, because I was able to make something money wise as far as my time was spent. And then I was able to outsource different tasks because I was getting paid for my time doing all of the documentation work and all of the process. And that really helped me focus time appropriately between work and family to be able to still get everything done. Because following through with the documentation and all of the changes that were necessary for childcare wasn't something that I could do during my childcare hours. And the family demands in the area really took a 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. schedule. So trying to get everything done outside of that work time while still giving my kids the time of day was, it was hard to do without that motivation and incentive. So Wonderschool really helped to prioritize the process for me.
Okay, that's awesome. And what, I know you mentioned early on that you're registered and you were looking to get licensed. And what is your main reason for like wanting to get licensed?
The main reason for wanting to be licensed is the ratio of children in care. Without having 10 students in the classroom and being able to have that higher number of enrollment, it didn't allow me or wouldn't allow me to financially support having assistance for hours where I would otherwise be needed for my family, or taking any time off for myself, sick days included. Without a full enrollment of 10 students, I wouldn't have the flexibility to meet the needs that the families have for childcare hours. So it,
Okay,
I
so
guess,
it's making,
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
that was it. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like it's making it more financially viable for you to run a
Yes,
childcare business. Okay, great.
absolutely.
And what has your experience with Wonderschool been like so far?
The experience with Wonderschool has been phenomenal. I was not able to spend the time to research and find all of the necessary documents very easily on my own. I was noticing that the website through the state of Missouri was cumbersome to some degree. It was difficult to find the right sources. And Wonderschool stepping in and creating a more rigid organization of the documentation process, and then step by step what needs to happen next, really made it possible to focus my time and spend less time researching how to do it and more time actually getting it done. So the app is something that I actually learned about after having completed all the documentation in the process. I looked at that and with my jaw dropped. I was just so impressed with how much easier it could have been than it even was. And so Wonderschool has been able to not only financially support this endeavor, but to organize the process, to make it really clear, and to reduce a lot of the stress and strain of wondering if I'm getting it right even. So it's Wonderschool has really been the backbone support for what it's taken to become licensed and go through the process.
That's amazing. Thanks. What advice would you have for other childcare providers who are looking to open their own program or become licensed?
My advice to other childcare providers would be to start sorry, let me start over. My advice to other childcare providers looking to start a business would be to remain steadfast and determined to embrace every challenge as an opportunity to learn and grow, both as an educator and a provider. To approach each obstacle as a chance to demonstrate your ability, your dedication, and your professionalism in all aspects of your work. Upholding these values is essential for building trust and meeting the needs of children and families, and being committed to supporting them.
Cool. That's awesome.
That's really excellent advice.
Thanks.
Emily, do you have any other questions?
I think this has been really, really helpful. I guess I would just love to hear, like, what is your favorite part of what your day-to-day looks like?
My day-to-day right now isn't very busy. I actually don't have any children in care at the moment. The construction that I've had to do in the classroom area and the licensing space made it more difficult than was worth keeping enrollment for this time. So I kind of transitioned out. I saw an opportunity for some flexibility in my schedule, and I ended up having to build the walls on my own. And so I've been doing plumbing work. I've been building multiple walls and putting in doors in order to meet the licensing requirements. It just wasn't something that I was able to get done after hours. Like I had suggested before, the expectations and the requirements for licensing were something that needed to be done outside of childcare hours. So I took it as an opportunity to take a break from childcare and focus on making these adjustments and changes. And so hopefully once I can establish licensing, I can open up full force again, get full enrollment, and kind of start the classroom process back. So at the moment, I'm just doing tutoring from time to time here and there.
That's so fascinating.
Do you have a plan on like how you're planning to get enrollments once you are open, or have you already started? Like, do you have a wait list or something?
I haven't been able to confirm any sort of a enrollment list because I'm not confident in my ability to, like I said before, I'm concerned with being able to hire an assistant and to have somebody to support the needs of the families once enrollment starts. So without being established as licensed, I don't feel confident in being able to fulfill the enrollment in the classroom. I want to make sure that I follow through with the licensing and I have that established. Once that's the case, I can start, asking for family enrollment. And as soon as I have, I would say at least 6 students confirmed, then I would be able to open full-time and meet their needs for childcare hours. Otherwise, without establishing the licensing for higher enrollment numbers, I'd have to restrict my hours to more of a preschool schedule. And that would probably be more like a half-day preschool, maybe from 8 to noon sort of option, just because I have to be able to be available for my kids' sports schedules. And yeah, I'm really prioritizing those family hours while I still have them, since my kids are in high school. And so they're my priority. If I can manage to have a fully enrolled class and take the time in the evenings to be able to leave around 3 or 4 on those days where they have activities and have somebody in the classroom where I can afford to pay them to cover those hours, then I would love to open full enrollment. But otherwise, it's just going to have to be restricted hours. So we'll see how,
Makes sense.
we'll see when I get licensed and what the timeline is for that and how that fits into, the needs of families.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Best of luck with the rest of the licensing
you.
journey. Fingers crossed
Appreciate
that it happens soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll be cheering you on from over here. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
You too.